Good evening. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor, and it's currently just a few minutes after 7. My apologies are a little late today on Tuesday, April 14th. And I'm here with today's daily recap of the events that might affect how you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. And big question for today is, do you really need a watchdog? Interesting question. I'll get to that in a few minutes. One of the biggest things that affects your ability to get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and retirement, especially these days, is the current COVID situation. The cases are unbelievable right now. Well over 580,000 cases right now. Deaths are close to 2,400,000 deaths right now. Cases in New York keep growing every day. Deaths are well over 10,000 right now. The majority of those are in New York City by itself. New Jersey is number 2 in the coveted spot. Hell, for thrilling, close to 65,000 cases right now, close to 3,000 deaths. And when you hear numbers like that, it gets to be a really big story, and you get numb to it after a while. And it's important to look at those numbers, see what exactly do they mean, what do they actually represent. Well, of all those numbers, more than 9,000 healthcare workers across the United States already contracted COVID-19 just last week, and 27 died. At least 30 supermarket workers have died from COVID, and another 3,000 have been sidelined because they're showing signs of COVID or COVID-related illnesses, according to their union. Now, the problem is 85% of the customers that go into the stores are not doing proper social distancing. And I understand, okay, people are frustrated, it's uncomfortable, it's inconvenient, okay. Now you want me to wear a mask? I don't want to wear a mask, I feel confined, okay. I should just be able to get whatever I want. But there are other people out there, and these poor store clerks are stuck there. They're trying to help out. They're getting paid on average maybe 10, 11 bucks an hour. It's not a whole lot of money, and their lives are at risk. And you can see that because a number of them have already died. Now, there's also another group of people, because those are just the unionized workers that we got those numbers from. There's a number of stores that have non-union people, and they're a little bit harder to track. But right now, at least 2 Walmart employees in Chicago have died. In Kroger, another chain store, 4 workers died in Michigan. Okay. At least 75 public transit workers in over a dozen states have already died from coronavirus. Now, transit workers are on the buses and trains in New York City have had the hardest hit of all of them. They've had at least 59 deaths so far, twice as many COVID deaths as New York City police and fire departments combined. The transit workers, they're there to help get essential people back and forth to work every day, especially in New York City. These people are dying. Sioux Falls City, South Dakota, a pork processing plant owned by Smithfield Farms, on Sunday, they declared they had a total of 293 of their 730 people who worked there at the plant have been diagnosed with COVID. Now, that Sioux Falls facility is one of the largest pork processing plants in the United States. It supplies over 130 servings of food per week, over 18 million servings per day. 18 million servings a day. Now, just so you know, there's no evidence that COVID is transmitted through food or its packaging, according to the Department of Agriculture. So don't go out and boycott Smithfield. It's totally unnecessary. Okay, it's just that the workers have been exposed, and they shut the plant down right now. They can't staff the plant. Now, for each of these things, it's a personal tragedy for each one of these people and their families. And if you know them, if you know the people, if you know their families, or maybe you use the services that they provide, or you shop in stores where they work, or you buy products that they make or they process, their deaths affects you in some way, shape, or form. Now, everybody's been talking about reaching the peak and bending the curve. Okay, well, the peak is not a peak. Okay, It doesn't magically drop off. You walk up the hill, it doesn't just drop off. You walk up the hill and it plateaus. And the plateau is actually what we're looking for. However, plateau still means there's still a number of people consistently getting sick, consistently that are dying. Only the number is not shooting up off the wall, which makes people feel relatively good because they feel it's semi-contained at least at that point in time. And you just don't know how far the plateau is going to extend before hopefully it starts to drop off. Now, these are just facts. Not everybody believes the facts. They have personal biases that influence how we interpret the facts and whether we accept them at all. Some people never do. But there are certain facts in the world that exist, but because of our personal biases, we may or may not all agree on the facts, which is really, really odd. And that's been going on for a while now. Okay? It's not the healthiest thing in the world to do because, a door is a door, a chair is a chair. Okay, the sun comes up, the sun goes down. Those are certain basic facts. When you have people get together and they can't agree on basic things like that, it causes some problems. Now, the president did a 2-hour briefing yesterday. For a while, he's been doing these COVID briefings and let you know all the tests he's putting out and all the ventilators he's getting and all the gloves he's got and all the PPE he's got and all these things that's happening. Yesterday was 2 hours, though, excuse me, all about him, trying to defend his actions for the month of February. And then, during the questioning, it's always during the questioning, he's okay on script. As soon as he gets off on the questions, he's on his own, and bad things generally happen for him. Okay. During the questioning, one of the reporters asked, well, what happened in February? Why didn't you respond in February? Okay. And he kept going back to January, totally ignoring the question, what happened in February? And then he declared that he's the president. He has total authority. Okay, now, I'm not here to bash the president. I don't have to. He does it all by himself. He's talking about opening up the economy with a target date of May 1, and that's lovely. And then he says he has total authority to make such a decision and to give that order. Well, I don't make that up. It's what he said. Okay? And this is 180-degree opposite of what he had for the last month or so when he's dumping everything on the governors, saying it's the governor's decision if, when, and what to shut down. He wasn't going to make that decision. It was up to the governors. Now, whether you love the president or you hate him or you're somewhere in between, okay, there's more and more evidence, empirical evidence, that you can touch, feel, see every day that comes out that the federal government has been exceptionally slow in the response to this pandemic. For February, they did basically nothing. Okay, talking about his China ban. Well, he had a ban on China travel, but another 40,000 people still came in because of loopholes in the ban. Okay, the federal response has been botched on this on several occasions by a number of different people in this administration. And it all came out yesterday. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And more of it will be coming out. As more and more reporters get into this, and you start tracking down timelines, and see what's happening with supplies and things, more information is going to come out, and you'll see a giant federal botched response. Now, despite what the president says at the podium, you can check yourself for direct statements from people that have day-to-day operations, hour-by-hour information, like state senators, state governors, hospital administrators, ER and ICU doctors and nurses, and they've been seeing for more than weeks that there's a major disconnect between what's said at that podium and what they're seeing every day on the front lines. Now, we're going to shut this down in a lot of areas for 4 weeks, and it's difficult, and it's been uncomfortable. The whole thing's been shut down. It's been terribly uncomfortable for a while now. Okay? It's definitely crippling the economy. There's over 10% unemployment right now, and some people can say it can go as high as 18 to 20%. The current projections are somewhere right now for about 60,000 dead, instead of the 200,000 that they were projecting 2 weeks ago. And there's really no good alternative here. There really isn't. It's just a question of the lesser of two bad situations. Do we stay on course that we're doing right now, and the economy crumbles for the next month or two, and we have only 60,000 dead? Or do we open up the economy on May 1, no problem at all, get a little tease thinking it's going to go back to the way it was before, and then everybody gets reinfected, and we have to shut down the economy again, only for a longer period of time this time, only now we end up with more of the economy wiped out and closer to 200,000 people dead. There's two bad choices. There's only one reasonable decision, however. Yes, the economy's hurting, okay? And rural areas that have had a low number of cases up until now are seeing their cases pick up. Rural healthcare systems that were just holding on before all this happened. I mean, you've got one hospital in a county, and they don't staff it all that well. The doctor might not be there for 24 hours of the day. He might be there during a working day and is on call. They might have a respiratory therapist there during the day and not at night. They might have one ventilator or no ventilators at all. And as this thing happens, okay, as more cases develop, you're going to see those rural hospitals really start to break down big time. Okay, and what's happening as they're social distancing and, you know, they stop wearing masks, okay, they stop the social distancing, it's going to have an impact on their cases. If they do those things, they're still going to have cases out there. The virus doesn't understand state lines. It just doesn't understand state lines. Okay? You know, the virus doesn't move itself. It doesn't. People move the virus. If people stop moving, the virus stops moving. Stay at home. Okay. Texas has got a hell of a problem down there. They acknowledge the problem. Okay. They have a problem with social distancing. It's in their culture to go and shake hands constantly with everybody. Okay. Don't change your behavior because you might get infected. Assume you're infected and change your behavior to avoid transmission. People in Texas are having a hard time because culturally, it's just instinctive to go up and shake somebody's hand. It's what they do. Okay. It's a relatively friendly state. It really is. But now they've got to change what they've been culturally doing for years now. It's very difficult. And right now, the existing healthcare systems, you know, they were having problems before. With COVID, they're really going to start to break down with this stuff. And the economy is not a light switch. You just can't turn it on and go, you know, you can't be in Washington, D.C. and say, oh yeah, on May 1, we're going to open up the economy, no problem at all, because I have total authority. Well, he doesn't have total authority. Okay? This is not a king. This is not a dictatorship. 3 co-equal branches of government. For some reason, that's been ignored for some reason. 3 co-equal branches of government. There's an oversight factor to the Senate and the Congress. And the courts are there to balance things out. All 3 co-equal branches of government. Not all that want power in one branch. Okay? We didn't have a King Washington. We didn't have a King George Washington. We had a President George Washington. Okay? The Founding Fathers didn't want to hear any of that nonsense. They left the king. They didn't want a king. They didn't want a dictatorship. They very, very carefully crafted, okay, a democracy. Declaration of Independence. Okay. The states have certain powers. The federal government has certain powers. But for the most part, the powers are in the state governments and individual people. So we can't get that far away from there. The president does not have total authority. He would like to, but he doesn't. And the problem is when reporters ask him, he doesn't like the questions because he doesn't have a good answer. He gets very combative. That's really not good for anybody. It's not good for the country. It puts a bad show on for everybody. Okay, and the end result is that we're in chaos right now. Okay, and it doesn't matter what you say at that briefing. Okay, what the daily reports say. Okay, the governors can't get the tests. And you can't open the economy without having people tested. And right now, we've tested less than 1% of our population. And some really interesting things are starting to happen with the tests. People that have had, first off, they can have 2 or 3 negative tests before they get a positive test. Then, people that have had COVID already are technically immune in normal thinking, are retesting positive again. It's happening here in the United States. It's happening in South Korea, who is, a month, 2 months, ahead of us on all this stuff because it happened there first. Okay? And people that have had COVID already are testing positive again. They're getting it a second time. They haven't exactly figured out what's happening yet. Did the virus reactivate? Or did it mutate and they got a new virus? Still too new to know what's going on. So a lot of things are happening. But without the testing, you can't get this open. It's just not going to happen. Now the governors on the East Coast and the West Coast are getting together, forming their own little groups, trying to coordinate how they're slowly going to open some stuff up. But it's not going to be from a mandate from D.C. The governors aren't going to have any of that nonsense because it puts their people at risk. And they answer directly to the people. They understand that. Now, the governor's been, forced, trying to figure out ways to handle a national crisis. For the last month and a half, the president said, we're here for a backup. The governors can get their own supplies. They should have had their own stuff. They can get their own ventilators. They can get their own supplies from the supply chain. Well, it hasn't worked that way. They wanted to. But now you get 50 governors competing against each other, and then FEMA comes in and outbids everybody, and the private companies are making tons of money. Instead of having one single non-political military person with serious background in logistics to take charge of the full supply chain, put the Defense Production Act into action, not just have it signed, but actually use it, FEMA would then go in, buy all the supplies, and then divvy them out to the individual states on the percentage of need that they had. That's the only thing that makes any sense. That's not happening right now. You can't send people back to work until you know if they're positive for COVID or if they've already had it, and the theory is that they might be immune. With less than 1% of the population being tested, you can't figure that out, so you can't get anybody back to work. Okay. Which brings me to the next thing I wanted to share with you tonight. Do we need a watchdog? Do you need a watchdog? That's a strange question, you would think, until I asked the next thing. Okay. Do you remember several weeks ago, the president signed a multi-trillion-dollar stimulus bill and recovery package? Everyone's going to get checks from the IRS. They're going to go out and direct deposit, and if they've got your bank information, you're going to get that check, no problem at all. Do you know anybody who received their checks yet? I don't. Okay. Part of that stimulus bill was a package for small businesses to get money for their payroll. Okay. Small businesses have a terrible time trying to apply for that program. Once they, Mnuchin announced it, sounded great from the podium. Oh, the bank can just lend the money, no problem. You go to any FDIC bank, no problems at all. Well, surprise. The banks didn't have the regulations. Once they finally got the regulations to the banks, then the banks were flooded with applications, and they stopped taking some applications even. And the application process is lengthy. So small businesses that were intended to get that money are not getting that money. And the problem is the larger part of the bill was for small businesses to get that money. Now, who's going to conduct oversight for all that taxpayer money? Do you think that there could be a $2 trillion bill and not have political cronies involved, not have friends of the president or friends of a senator, friends of a congressman getting ahead of the line and getting money that should not go to them at all? That had never happened in the United States, has it? Of course not. Not in this country. You know what happens every day. whenever there's government money, somebody's always got their hand out. And the people who know how to get the money generally get the money. And in order to get the money, you need to have people who know how to get the money. They're working for larger companies. So if you've got a mom and pop operation, you got a restaurant down the street, you got a barber shop down the street, okay, it's hard to get the money because you don't have the people there that know the ins and outs of the system in order to get the money. So yes, you need a watchdog. There's absolutely no question you need a serious watchdog, someone with a non-political background, a government veteran who's seen several administrations, has served through several administrations, not somebody who's appointed by the president. Because who's the president appoint? People he knows and likes at that moment in time. Okay? And that always seems to change. So you need a serious person who's been in the government for years, through several administrations. They've got a number of these people. But the president just fired a couple of them too. So you've got to really be careful. Yes, you need somebody to watch the money. It was intended for small businesses, intended for states and local municipalities, and for hospitals. And if these people don't get the money, the economy suffers big time. And you're footing the bill for it all. What a surprise. Okay, so yeah, you need somebody who's going to stand up, okay, and is not going to succumb to political pressures from the president getting called out and getting tweeted about. Okay, you need somebody who's actually going to do their job. Okay, who's going to look at and see, okay, who's getting the money? What's it for? Where's it going to? You need a watchdog. Without doubt in the world, you definitely need a watchdog to take care of that money. Now, I've done my little rant for today. Okay, the video is going to be posted tomorrow. Like and share the video. It's on YouTube. Okay. Again, every day I have a certain present. It's in the top of the page. There's a link on YouTube. Goes to a page. There's a present in there every day. And my goal, again, my only goal, is to help you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. So whatever I do, it's to that end. That's my only purpose. I don't have a political purpose here at all. Okay. How am I going to help you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement? Everything I do is to that end. So I appreciate you being here. Sorry I was a couple minutes late today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and we'll see what new and interesting things come up between now and then. But I appreciate your time. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.